Hey there, Dingo Stu here. Today's video is about getting the Detroit diesel back into the trawler and is proudly sponsored by marineengine.com. First step in getting this engine back in was to tow Renko over to the mainland in order to get the truck to it, and to do this Rob came over with the chief to help tow it. Before long we were underway towing Renko over to the loading ramp on the mainland. It's a pretty good loading ramp there. It's where a lot of trucks pick up and drop off quite large deliveries of building materials and that sort of stuff. So as well as being not too busy, it's deep water right against the seawall, which is what we wanted.
Alright, we're on. Yeah.
Vic arrived soon in his tinny, and from there we jumped in his truck and drove up to the workshop in Mount Kringai where the engine currently is. Trickiest part in the workshop was really just that the forklift had dropped it down under below the mezzanine level, so it was a little bit hard for Vic to get his crane in and pick it up. But we sort of dragged it out from under the mezzanine, and before long we were on our way up the hill with the engine on the back of his truck. Nice to see it finally out of there. Back at the river, Rob had been waiting with both the boats just to make sure no one came along to use the loading ramp while we were gone.
Mates at Detroit. Why do you think I put the nappies in?
We actually had to rejig it with a chain so that the gearbox dropped down a little bit. We were just a couple of centimetres short of fitting it in horizontal.
A little out and a little forward. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There you go, now down.
See that filter there?
And virtually as long as it doesn't rip the radiator tank.
No, it's all good at the front. Yep, you're good here. Maybe towards you a little bit, Vic. Jib in a little bit. Nice work.
You're not bad,
No.
Yeah, no, it's good.
You'll be able to manage it from that.
Oh, totally.
With the engine dropped back into its rightful place, we started heading back to the island to put the boat back on its mooring. So huge thanks to Vic and Rob for their help that day. You know, Vic was awesome on the crane and Rob's great at towing boats, so it was good to have good help, you know, as always. Made it go very, very smoothly. And it's certainly nice to have all the boat back in one place now, so I can just get stuck in and start working on it without being spread across different locations. That'll be very nice. So, there we go. It's in, finally. Well, not gratty over. Lots of work to do getting it positioned. Currently this mount's hanging off the edge. There's a bolt in this one because it lined up with a hole just to stop it tipping. It's pretty heavy, but, you know, a huge motor cruiser goes by. Anything can happen. So bolt's in there, then the crane's on, just taking a little bit of weight to stop it going flying. I think it'll be fine, but the sooner the better. You can see down there it's too low and it's also too far to starboard. So I'm going to go and find a chain hoist and get rigged up so we can start positioning this coarsely. Then we're going to use the mounts to do the fine adjustment. Here, a few bits and pieces left over, as there always is. I'll keep this box because it's got, oh, there's my mount, I need that, my coupler, sorry. A few bits and pieces that are specific to the Detroit, so I'll definitely hang on to these in case I need them. In my mind now, this is the box of Detroiters. So we'll hang on to that and get it up to the workshop, just get it out of the way, take it home, and then start getting this in position. All right, I'm off up the road to go and get a chain block hoist. I'm a little bit worried about how precarious it is at the moment with this one engine mount hanging off. I think it's bad enough that it's not secured, let alone on 3 of its 4 feet. So I'm actually gonna try to take some of the weight with this crane. Can't take much, some of it. Then get in with the crowbar and see if I can just get it onto the rails properly. This has got death by misadventure written all over it, hasn't it? Oh well, let's see what happens. That was surprisingly easy. Definitely think having the crane taking a bit of the weight helped. Let's see how far we are on the other side, just in case we've gone too far. I don't know. We've actually gone too far here, but that's okay. Good news is it's been raining for a couple of days solid now, which is nice. Garden, if you call it a garden, is looking quite wet. Staying dry in there, Daisy and Daffy. Oh, you're all in there. Good work. You want some seed? They're funny. They got their own dispenser, but they much prefer eating off the ground, don't you? There we go. That's more fun. Let's not get distracted. D-squad action happens during the credits. Anyway, let's head off to the trawler and see what we can get done despite the rain. Probably not much, but do what we can. Do you like my welcome sign I made out of horseshoes? Just cut and welded them. I don't know why I put that up though, I hate visitors. So, it's in, and to be honest, it really wasn't that hard. Nothing really went wrong. Took, you know, between leaving Brooklyn and getting it back in, it was 4 hours or something, so it was pretty quick too. It's funny, like a lot of people were sort of like, why are you putting the boat back on the mooring when it's not ready? Why don't you stay on the hard stand? And I guess there's a couple of reasons. 3 main ones really. The mooring's essentially free, it's already paid for, compared to $1,000 a month to be on the hard stand. And it's much closer to home, so now I'm home in 5 minutes instead of 25 or something, you know, so it makes a difference, adds up, particularly if you need to duck home and get something you've forgotten. That's been quite good. The other reason is actually it's just nicer to be here. You know, you're on the water, it's cooler, you know, you hear the waves, you see the water, you can dangle a line, you know, it's actually just a much nicer place to work. Obviously it's a bit rainy today, but you know, summer's days is beautiful, you know, just get out in the sun. Always girls swimming off the wharf in bikinis. Speaking of bikinis, that reminds me of another job I really have to do. So all up, I'm pretty happy with the plan to move the boat off here. I've not wished I was on the hard stand at any stage in this project. Obviously, it's the only way you can work below the waterline, you know, but that's what you pay the money for the bits you can only do on the hard stand. Then to my mind, get off the hard stand as fast as you can. It's like Damien's dump and run plan. As soon as Brew Peg's ready to go, they're in the water to finish the rest of the work. All right, a few other things. Jason, thank you very much. Jason sent me an EPIRB and another compass. The compass is going in a different boat. It's a bit of a long story. I will actually show you on the way home. Vicky used to have one of the Hobie trimarans because she loves sailing and has since bought herself a Top Hat 26 or something, like a bigger sailing boat, stay on board, etc. Nice little boat. It was just a friend on the island selling it, so it was one of those sort of nice opportunities. Weren't really looking, but And I said to her, I said, if you keep spending money on boats, I'm going to leave you, but she did it anyway. So anyway, Jason's compass is going to go on that sailing boat, but the EPIRB he sent is going to stay on Renko. So thank you very much. All right, in order to move this engine, it's not actually raining at the moment, which is nice, so I might get a little bit of welding done at least. But we need to rig up this little girder trolley. First thing I want to do is make sure it does actually work with the I-beam I bought. I looked the specs up and I think this I-beam is at the absolute minimum size I can use with this girder trolley. But if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll have to buy a different one and think of something else to do with that beam. You can see here we're down to a pretty small gap now, about 1.5 millimeters between the flange of the wheels and the edge of the I-beam. Which sounds about right, given that it's a 65mm I-beam and the minimum width is 64, which is why I kind of thought it was going to work. My only issue then was thinking, oh no, what if the wheels are really tall? But they're not. This has a safe working load of 1,000 kilograms, tested to 2,000. On top of that, most of the time I'm probably only going to be lifting one end of the engine at a time, lift one end, do a bit of work, lift the other end, so only 500 kilos. But it is capable of lifting the entire engine in the safe working load. How strong the deck is, well, we'll have to see. I'm certainly going to be mindful of it when I'm doing it, keeping an eye on deformation, that kind of thing. All right, and here we are rigged up with our 1-ton chain hoist, and we're ready to go. Now I need to weld the 2 squares on here with the bolt holes so that I can bolt the I-beam to the top of the uprights. Just using the crane to drain Red Dwarf, if you're wondering what that noise is. Bungs out. Filled up with water from rain last night. Alright, so working limit 1 ton, test load 1.5 for this, so still in spec. We won't need anywhere near the 3 meters, it's going to be quite a short pull. Okay, have to go chain blocks. Safety. Yeah, jeez. Oh my god, I'm having a panic attack already. Alright, maintenance. It's not really my strong point either, is it? Just tell me how to use it. I don't know if I'm going to sit out here in the rain and try and weld this, to be honest with you, so this may have to wait for next week. But the plan is just weld out both sides on these pads, and these are what's going to bolt to the top of the uprights. Then from here to inside here will be the span we've got available, which is enough just to straddle the width of the engine bay.
A few king parrots come to visit. The one on the end, I think's some sort of mutation that makes them that yellow colour. I think they're quite rare. So I think since the yellow one came to the island, we've had them breeding more. Oh, there you go, there's 2 others, 3 of them. So I think the island's getting more of those yellow ones than it used to have for sure.
Alright, time to start making this gantry crane, essentially, small version. Sorry if it's dark in here, it's lit from behind. Everything's wrong for filming in here, but I will fix that down the track. Just got to Google some good filming lights, you know, and I'll put them behind here. Anyway, I'll show you what we got. So I went to a steel place the other day and I bought, it's all wet, it's been raining a lot today, which is great, but of course this was all out in the weather when it got rained on. They just had these in the steel place, and I thought perfect because drilling's tedious and time consuming. So the plan is to weld these here. It's a tight fit. We still need to obviously get the nut to rotate, or at least the bolt head, but I'm going to weld these on to the ends of what's going to be our uprights. Then what I need to do is cut a 5-degree slope here, because that's the deck slope and I want this to sit flat for my particular boat. Down the track, I may use it in other applications. Obviously it's a reasonable effort just for one boat, one motor, but you know, I'll definitely work on this motor again and probably lift it and whatever. I did the trig quickly, and 75mm across here is 6.5mm down to get the 5-degree slope. So measure the 6.5mm and we'll just cut it. Alright, cut the bulk of the wedge out, then I'll just clean it up with a grinding disc. So, get this positioned so that it's equidistant from all the pre-drilled holes. Then I'll just get some tacks around it. There's not a huge baseline here, but it does feel pretty square, which is good. Alright, there we go. Day's getting a little bit long in the tooth, so I'm going to go and head out tomorrow if the rain's not too bad. But these are going to be the tops, and I've got 2 more squares I'm welding onto the I-beam, then we'll bolt it all together, 8 bolts, and I'll weld the feet on that end. Morning! What are you eating? Oh, good jump, Daff. Let you guys explore a bit, then I'll feed you. It's a delicate little scratch. So, not raining today. Not for the moment anyway, so I am going to power on with this before the video's over. These are the bases. This is my sort of 5-degree slope for the deck. So I am going to weld these out, and then we'll take them out to the boat and actually rig up the chain hoist. Plumb's pretty important because we want the force going straight down. Alright, let's put some tacks in. Alright, not super pretty thin metal, a little bit easy to burn through, but anyway, I felt the welds either look cold or they'd blow holes, you know. Alright, here's a piece of high density polyethylene that we've used in other places for shelves and electrical boards or whatever. I'm going to cut 4 pieces of this to put under the engine mounts because they're a little bit low. I took 40mm off because I can easily lift it up, but I can't easily drop it. I did a bit of research, and it turns out that high density polyethylene compresses by less than 1% over 100 years at 100 psi or something. So I think it'll be fine. So I'm just going to cut some blocks out of this to go under our engine mounts before we go. The great thing about purse pants, or cargo shorts as I believe they're called in other places, means you can actually carry stuff. Alright, let's go.
Just going to have a quick look at Southerly. Rick's been unwell. This is a boat he saved from being chopped up with a chainsaw, believe it or not. But sitting a little bit low in the water, I think. Let's go have a look what's going on. That's not looking too good. Oh, engine's out. Actually, Arne and I rebuilt the engine for this one.
So when this was sinking, Vic, the guy who helped me put the engine back in the trawler, I think was contacted to basically dispose of it, chainsaw it up. It's a nice 1940s boat. And he said to Rick, who loves saving old boats, rather than chopping it up, do you want to take it and look after it? And he went, yes. So Rick unfortunately had an accident and had been in hospital. He's back out now, but he's not back on the island yet. So let's have a look. Battery, what's it saying? Green is good. What's the center? So is it dead battery or is it dead bilge pump? That's the question. Oh. Battery looks all right. Looks like it was just a dodgy connection. So battery looks good. Don't know if the solar's still connected though. Let's check that out. These are obviously the cells. Oops. Lights are on, but it's a bit too faded to see what they actually mean. Oh well. Keep an eye on it. At least it's pumping. Another boat's safe for another day. Just pumping out the Chief at the moment as well, but Southerly's still going, so that's good. Take a little while. It's only a small bilge pump by the looks of it, and there's a fair bit of water in it.
listening to the Chief and Southerly pump out at the same time really makes me need to pee. Last thing I need to do to the uprights now is use some of this flat bar that was living on the boat to do some bracing, but given this is already on the bench, I'm going to weld this up. Now, I can take the girder trolley apart and get it on the girder, but I'm almost thinking it might be easier just to weld one side, slide it on, weld the other side. Alright, here's where we're at. Got two straps. We're going to meet in the middle like this. Weld it all out. Come to the ends here. Ish. I think I'll just separate them. Do a kind of weld down the middle. Then we can do a bit, you know, along all the individual edges. Alright, they're both done now. Not super pretty. A few ugly welds. Blah, blah, blah. But pretty sure it'll be right. We'll find out, won't we? I might actually try and stand both of these up precariously, drop it on, bolt it in, something like that. We'll see. It'll either go well or it'll be funny. Can't lose, can you? Stay. Hey, what can we wedge in there? Maybe this. Just to give it a little bit more stability. Oh, jeez. Ow. You can tell which way the boat is, can't you? Alright, let's just get a bolt in. That's actually really easy, which is nice. That's the whole idea of putting the effort into the gantry, is to make it easier now and safer. Don't tell anyone I said that though. Alright, we're a bit closer both up and down and port and starboard, so that's good. Let's go have a quick look inside. Alright, height's almost perfect, which is great. So even the angle between the two isn't terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have to get down to kind of dial gauge / feeler gauge levels of accuracy, but that's not too bad. Now that is, well, this one hanging off in almost no man's land, and these ones sitting on the rails without their shim. So we're a fair way up on that stud, and we're a fair way up on that one too. So I think we put the shims on the other side now, and then we start dropping this down to get our two flanges parallel. What do you reckon, Bill Trat? Cool, I agree. Alright, starting to run out of steam, but we're on the home stretch. Just push my little gantry back and hooked it up with another chain, the one I used to lift the engine into the boat, using these lift eyes that people told me were going to pull out. So now what I'm going to do is just lift the front of the engine up and get the last 2 shims in. Then we're kind of good to go to start doing the final alignment. Alright, we've kind of got all our mounts under their shims. Not super accurately, but I reckon I can knock them under with a hammer. Polyethylene's quite slippery, and because the rails are on a slope, the engine keeps sliding aft until it hits the prop shaft. So I think my plan will be to lift it, attach the coupler. It didn't attach the coupler because it didn't give us the clearance we needed to get in. That's why that wasn't on when the engine went in. So lift it up, attach the coupler, push it forward, let it rest against the prop shaft, bolt it in, move the prop shaft slightly away, do our alignment, bolt it up. Sounds like a plan. Can you tell I've never done this before? But, I mean, really, how hard can it be? Before we wrap up here, I'm just going to lash this, because every time a boat comes past, it rocks and rolls around. I'm actually going to tie it to the high side so that it'll kind of roll against the rope rather than hitting the actual metal on metal frame. Then I'm going to get a ratchet strap or 2 and just ratchet strap it down to the rails, because I've got to go to Bundaberg. I'm not going to get it done in time, and I don't want it falling off if a big boat comes past causing wash. So that's where we're going to get to before I go. So thanks for watching. Really nice to have it back in now. Still lots to do before we actually fire it up, but one major step closer. The nice thing now is everything I need is kind of on the boat. It's really a matter of just doing the work. As I said in the video, I'm actually heading off to Bundaberg to see Damien and Jess again from Project Bripeg. We're going to be working on their trawler for a little while, about a week or so. Then we'll come back and get stuck back into Detroit. All right, well, take care. I'll catch you then. See ya. Time for some healthy greens. There you go. Have some greens. They tend to be healthy chickens. At least you got most of the poo off your head. The only way to feed the chicken at the bottom of the pecking order is to make sure these 2 have a back to her. As soon as they do, you saw it. Look at you, you're soaked. Some of that. Nice rice noodles. Look at your hair, Daisy. You look worse than I do.